The massive scorpion descended, its stinger poised to strike. But the commander held his ground. Beneath the roots of a giant tree, 1,000 black garden ant soldiers guarded a tiny kingdom. Their commander was small in size, but larger than fear in every heart. To them, every bridge was a road, and every pebble was a mountain. The kingdom was disciplined, busy, and proud of the army that protected it. Even the finest soldiers still found ways to trip over breakfast. From the eyes of a recruit, the army felt as endless as the world. Every morning began with loyalty, rhythm, and the promise of protection. Then, beneath the joy of ordinary life, the earth began to whisper. At first it was only a tremor, small enough to doubt, strong enough to remember. The commander looked beyond the walls, where the silence had started to move. Across the camp, 1,000 soldiers felt the same warning at the same time. The scouts ran first, brave enough to investigate and clumsy enough to entertain. Beyond the gate, they found signs no ant had ever seen before. The evidence was undeniable. Something armored had crossed their border.
The return was fast, loud, and not nearly as graceful as they hoped.
The commander felt the truth instantly. Their enemy was not just large, but deadly. Then the grass opened, and the kingdom saw the shape of disaster. A scorpion monster had arrived, armored like a fortress and hungry for destruction. Each step of the beast struck the earth like war drums made of thunder. For the smallest soldiers, even one claw felt like the end of the world.
In the middle of panic, the commander chose strength for others before safety for herself.
By sunset, their proud fortress had become a wounded city of smoke and fear. They could not match the beast in power, so they studied movement instead. He found the only hope: attack the joints, blind the vision, control the tail. Before dawn, the entire kingdom transformed into a machine of preparation. Every needle became a blade, every leaf became armor, every hand found purpose. 1,000 soldiers stepped forward, not because they were fearless, but because home was behind them. Every bridge, trench, and catapult was placed with one goal: slow the giant. At dawn, the commander saw not fear, but a kingdom willing to stand. The scorpion returned expecting prey, but found an army waiting in silence. The monster studied them with ancient hunger and a body built for war. One raised sword turned terror into order, and order into resistance. Battle plan unfolded like a living machine made of tiny courage. The first assault was bold, fast, and only partly under control. From beneath the monster, the world became shadow, dust, and survival. The pebbles could not break the armor, but they could bend its rhythm. Then the tail struck,
and the proud front line became pure survival.
He stood his ground, not because he could win alone, but because others still needed time. Second phase began. If they could not break the giant, they would bind it. The rope teams fought bravely, though elegance was not among their weapons.
For some, heroism looked exactly like screaming through the air.
The commander was no longer chasing the monster. He was moving the battlefield itself.
Near the trenches, the giant's own weight began turning against it.
Now came the fire teams, carrying weapons too dangerous for comfort.
They rushed forward as if courage alone could harden the air around them. The smoke struck first, blinding the beast and opening a window of hope.
The commander climbed toward the one place only madness would choose. Each step on the armored back felt like climbing a moving fortress. There, beneath the tail, she found the seam that could change everything.
Below him, 1,000 soldiers gave everything to keep the giant unbalanced.
With one precise strike, the smallest blade found the largest weakness.
The wounded tail lashed out blindly, and the battlefield nearly broke apart. He used the pain not for revenge, but for timing. The army answered with a storm of stone, smoke, and discipline.
For the first time, the giant could no longer trust its own eyes. The commander dropped from the beast just as the final trap opened. One leg sank, and the giant's balance finally began to betray it. Victory did not come from strength alone, but from refusing to stop.
Then came the final command, and every soldier answered as one. 1,000 tiny warriors moved like one living force against the impossible.
At last, the armored giant fell, and the earth shook with tiny triumph. The monster still moved, but the battlefield no longer belonged to it. The roar of victory sounded less like pride and more like survival. By sunset, rebuilding had already begun, because survival always asks for tomorrow. He remembered the cost, because true leaders count the living and the lost. To the next generation, he was no longer only a commander, but a legend. The kingdom stood wounded but unbroken, held together by 1,000 acts of courage. And beyond the broken grass, a new shadow was already coming.